So let's talk about Nancy now. Yeah, whew, this now it's funny because although these cases are so different, you know, Holly and Jessica and Nancy Guthrie are completely different types of cases, apart from being, you know, Nancy's case, of course, is in America as well. So apart from being in different countries, totally different sort of circumstances, but they have got something in common, and that is the vulnerability of the victims. So, you know, predators of all kinds, be it an sex predator, be it, you know, just a con artist, whoever it is, they pick on vulnerable people. And who are the most vulnerable people in society? Are the very young or the very old. You know, you'd be surprised how many older people become victims of crime. I even watched a crime podcast once with David Wilson, I think his name is. He's you know, someone who appears a lot on true crime on the telly, professor, saying that the most likely victims of serial killers are actually women over 65 or something. So it's like, because they're so vulnerable, you know, they're much more vulnerable than a woman in, you know, of 30 who's maybe in prime physical health, and they're still vulnerable. Women are vulnerable in general, of course, but you know, they've got a chance of fighting someone off or physically but yeah, so children and old people, men or women, are so vulnerable. So they have that in common. You know, there was Nancy, 84 years old. I still can't believe that you could get to that age and go through everything that life has to throw at you. You've got to, you know, through all the medical issues that she'd gone through. It was probably traumas. She'd lost her husband, she'd lost her parents, lost her brother. You know, you're going through all those things that life throws at you, get to 84, and then you're kidnapped out of your own bed in the early hours of the morning. For God's sake, that's just terrible, isn't it? It's just. So we're going to talk about Nancy now. This, I was trying to put this picture up. There you go. Should be all working okay now. All back now, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Just literally electricity clicked off for 1 second and everything went. Anyway, we're back now. So the latest on the Nancy case that a lot of people are talking about is some of the neighbours in the area have said that the internet, there was a break in connection, like at some point, and so there's speculation: did this person, whoever it is, use a Wi-Fi jammer? Now, I don't know much about Wi-Fi jammers. I'm not, you know, that one. So, what do you think about this? I don't know if you've, any of you that are following the case, if you've heard about this. The guy definitely had something in his pocket that people were saying was either a walkie-talkie or a Wi-Fi jammer. So let's have a look at this article on ABC News to get an idea about it. So yeah, let me share it. To give us an idea. Okay. So So, new concerns over potential technical outage in Nancy Guthrie's neighbourhood. So, apparently, in the ongoing search for Savannah Guthrie's mother, detectives in Arizona are asking neighbours about any Wi-Fi lapses the night before she went missing. Now, let's put the sound on.
Neighbors, if they had any Wi-Fi lapses the night before Nancy was
Let me go back to the beginning.
last. Tonight there is news in the Nancy Guthrie case. Detectives in Tucson back in her neighborhood going door to door, asking neighbors if they had any Wi-Fi lapses the night before Nancy was last seen. Authorities not revealing why they're asking. Savannah Guthrie and her family offering that $1 million reward for anyone who helps bring Nancy home. Tonight there is news in the Nancy Guthrie case. Detectives in Tucson back in her neighborhood going door to door, asking neighbors if they had any Wi-Fi lapses the night before Nancy was last seen. Authorities not revealing why they're asking. Savannah Guthrie and her family offering that $1 million reward for anyone who helps bring Nancy home.
So
tonight there is news in the Nancy Guthrie case.
I was trying to, right, let's pause it. We'll pause it on the picture of Nancy. Oh, it's just doing whatever it wants, this. Never mind.
Guthrie and her family offering that $1 million.
Yeah, pause it while it's on Nancy. So apparently some neighbours have said that they had Wi-Fi problems that night. Now, it just seems a bit odd to me because this is supposed to have happened at 2:00 in the morning. Would you even know if you had Wi-Fi problems at 2:00 in the morning, or unless you're a night bird, I suppose, a person who maybe someone, or if you woke up and checked your phone or whatever. So is it possible that these people jammed? I honestly cannot believe that nobody has been detained so far. You know, they seem to have so much. They've actually even got, you know, these CCTV images and things, but they don't seem to have a vehicle, you know, or at least not that we know of. They don't seem to have, you know, a particular vehicle that they're interested in. And until they get a vehicle, they can't sort of trace where it went or what it did, because you've got to identify a vehicle of interest first before you then can sort of trace where it went, etc. Having said that, they may have one and we just don't know about it. The other thing is, did they, you know, why have they not, is there no mobile cover? You know, there's no, have they tried that, what do they call it, geofencing? I'm sure they have. I'm not trying to tell them, you know, what they should do. They know what they should do. They don't have to listen to me. But so have they sort of, why was Carlos and Luke detained? Now, Luke said he'd left his phone at home that night, didn't he? Which is odd in itself, I think, because people don't leave their phones. I mean, at the end of the day, these days, your phone is like just attached to you, isn't it? There's not many people whose phones aren't attached to them. You know, we take our phones everywhere. We don't turn them off, even when we're charging them up. We just plug them in, charge them up. We don't. I bet there's very few of you out there, if any, that ever turn your phone off. And, you know, I was listening to a podcast, I think it was Brian Entin, and he has a lot of FBI, retired FBI people on. And they were saying, like, what you look for is the absence of normalcy. So, like, if, you know, for 10 years you have been turning your phone off, at the weekend maybe some people get to Friday and they think, right, that's it, I'm turning my phone off. Because if they're with their family, or, you know, they don't feel that, I don't think this many people would do that. But let's just take it for the sake of argument. If every Friday you turned your phone off, or every time you went to bed, you know, you went to bed, people turn the phone off so they don't get interrupted in the night, turn it on in the morning when they wake up. So what the FBI will look for is, do you always do that? Now, if you've been doing that for the past couple of years, then that's normal. So they wouldn't think that was suspicious, turning your phone off. But if over the last couple of years you've never turned your phone off, and then suddenly, like Brian Koberger, he turned his phone off just before he went and committed the murders in Idaho, and then he turned it back on afterwards. But it wasn't something that he regularly did. You know, he didn't spend his time turning his phone off and back on again. They had no other record of him doing that. So it was an absence of normalcy, and that obviously points towards you. If you do some in anything, not only with your phone, but I suppose anything. If you normally, you know, if every Friday you went to eat at a certain restaurant for years, and then one particular Friday you went to a different one, well, it'd be, well, why did you go to the different one? You know, why did you go that way? Or what, you know, you went a certain way to work every day, but then one day you went the long way round. Why did you go the long way round? You know, so they will look for anything in your routine that is different from your normal routine. So, like saying about Luke, if he left his phone at home that day, now that wouldn't seem strange if he often left his phone at home. But if he never left his phone at home and then just suddenly that one day he left his phone at home, then yeah, it does seem strange. He was detained, he was questioned, and he was released. And that's all we know so far, isn't it? But yeah, I've seemed to spend a lot of my time at the moment staring at this photo. It's almost as if I think I can look at the you know, into them arresting him. It's just, you're looking at, you're fascinated. It's fascinating to think, who is this person? This person is out there somewhere. He was standing at some point. He was standing outside Nancy Guthrie's door just before she disappeared into a puff of smoke, practically. Who is he? Why was he there? Why has Nancy been taken? Was it a burglary gone wrong? Or was it a targeted kidnapping? Or was it even a targeted murder? You know, the questions in this case are mind boggling. You know, and that's for us, no matter how her family must feel. And something occurred because, of course, a big question is, how did they get Nancy, who was uh, you know, had problems walking, apparently. How did they get her out? Did he put her over his shoulder to take her out of the house? Do the police have any footage of him actually going out of the house with Nancy? Did he sling her over his shoulder? And then something else that occurred to me is because, you know, a case that we covered, or many cases, to be honest, you hear of this happening. You know, and I don't mean to be graphic. I'm not being graphic, but you know, it's not very nice thought. But did he take her out in a suitcase? Because that happens quite often. That the case of Anna Knezevich, the poor girl who was poor woman, 40 years old, just split up from a husband, came to Spain, to Madrid for a new life. She's American, or America. She's from Colombia initially, but American national. Split up from a husband who's Serbian, David Knezevich. Came to Madrid, Spain, for a new life, and again just disappeared. And it turned out that her husband had travelled all the way from Serbia to Spain, because it is overland. It is, there is no water in between. It is all, and he travelled. He hired a car. He drove from Serbia to Madrid, and somehow he got into her apartment. We don't know how he got into her apartment. He sprayed the CCTV of her apartment building with black spray paint. It seems he got in there because he had a crash helmet. He was dressed as like a delivery driver. He sprayed black paint on the CCTV in the apartment building, and then somehow he got into her actual apartment, killed her, and put her in a suitcase. And because he was seen, even though he'd blocked out the CCTV with black spray paint, he hadn't even done that very well. You could still see through it. And he was seen coming out of the elevator with a suitcase, which presumably had poor Anna's body in it. And then he drove all the way. Anyway, so just got, so this poor girl, Anna Knezovich, that's what he did. He took her out in a suitcase. So it occurred to me, because we don't know how he got Nancy out of the house. How did he get her out of the house? Where was the vehicle? Was there a vehicle? Or does this person live roundabout? I mean, this part of me would not be surprised. Do they live locally? I mean, how did they get Nancy out of the house? How did they get her out of the house? And why was there blood on the step? And, was she already deceased or is she still alive now? We don't know. But one way that they might have got her out of the house, I suppose, is in a suitcase or there's so many mysteries in this case. Or was somebody waiting? Like, there's all this speculation that maybe this is a gang even, or certainly more than one person. Was somebody waiting there just out of sight in the driveway or just outside the driveway? Somebody waiting there with a vehicle, and maybe this guy just put Nancy over his shoulder and took her over that way. But I think she would be, her mobility was restricted. So it'd be quite difficult to get her out there. Or did he take her out in some sort of bag? Or, what was in his rucksack? I'm still fascinated by that rucksack with all, it looked like it was full to the brim. The rucksack, so much stuff in it. What was in it? Was it something to carry Nancy out? Because it may be that this was intentional to kill Nancy, not supposed to be a kidnap. Maybe it was a murder, intentionally. Maybe it is to make someone suffer like Savannah. And then, of course, we've got, if you want to go into the real conspiracies, is it to do with the Epstein files? Because Savannah, she interviewed the victims, didn't she? Including Virginia Giuffre. It wasn't her father, or is it her husband that was to do with the Clinton administration? The Clintons are in the Epstein files. And that's another thing that I just want to tell you about that. And just wait, there's, apparently it's bad enough what's come out already, but I think some of the videos and that are going to be coming out soon that really implicate Trump. That's something I say to watch out for. I don't even want to look at them. It's bad enough what I've looked at so far. It's so depressing, the Epstein files. You just can't believe there's so much evil in the world. People are, the evilness of these people, and nobody's been arrested. Nobody, only Epstein himself, of course, but he died years ago. And we've got Ghislaine, she's in prison. But really, apart from that, what about all the other people? I just don't understand if the FBI have had all these files for so long with, clearly awful things on them. I just don't understand why people are still walking around free. Despite what they've done, just don't get it. Yeah, that's another theory, isn't it, Marg, that did Nancy even get home that night? I've seen a few people saying that. And the thing about Tommaso and Annie, So Annie is Nancy's daughter, Tommaso's her husband. They've had a lot of shade thrown at them, of course, because they were the last people to see Nancy. So I suppose it's logical. Um, yeah, did Nancy get home? Because we've seen no CCTV of Nancy actually arriving home. So the garage door opened and closed. We know that, but that doesn't mean to say that it was Nancy who went in, was it? And apparently it wasn't open for very long. Would it? I mean, I know how slow I am, and I've not got the mobility problems that Nancy had, but I'm so slow. It takes me, ages to get up the steps and get into the house. You know, the dogs are up there, and my son's in straight away. He doesn't even bother waiting anymore because he waits so long for me to get up the steps. Um, I mean, not that Nancy had steps, I don't think, but yeah, it just seemed very quick, her going into the garage, for a lady with mobility issues. And we, as I say, we have not seen anything to show that she did arrive back home. So, of course, because we've not seen the proof of that, uh, we can't be sure of it, can we? So, you know, it's a real mystery. This whole case is a mystery. And I've got to say, I haven't got much faith, as you know, in the sheriff's department. And that faith was made even less yesterday. I was watching JLR's stream yesterday, and I don't know if any of you watch his stream, but I watch it intermittently. And he has these, there was a lady there at the scene, and Trisha, her name was, and how can I describe her? So she was very vociferous. She was very annoyed with the government. And I think she put over some really good points. I thought, but her manner of delivering them, she came over that maybe she had some mental health issues. But you could tell that she was really passionate because she said, what is it that we can go to a country miles away, find someone? I suppose she talked about the Iran war and killing the Ayatollah. Then go to a country miles away, find someone instantly and, kill them. And we can't find Nancy Guthrie in our own country, and she was moaning about the government, etc. She was having a good rant, basically. And it was interesting because the thing is, her manner of delivery maybe was very emotional, and but it's very true. A lot of the things she was saying. Anyway, so next minute the sheriff turned up, the Pima County sheriff, not the sheriff, not Sheriff Nanos, but one of the deputies, drove past JLR, and this woman was standing right next to JLR, and this sheriff turned to JLR and said, oh, we've had a call about a drunk woman with glasses. Do you know anything about it? Have you seen her? She was stood right next to him, for God's sake. She was literally standing next to him, looking at him. And this sheriff saying to JLR, we've had a call about a drunken woman in glasses causing a disruption. Do you know anything about it? Have you seen her? And JLR just went, oh, no, I haven't seen anyone. And the thing is, she wasn't drunk, this woman. She wasn't drunk. She was quite passionate in the way she spoke, and maybe, she didn't come over to me as being drunk, just maybe, a little bit, I don't know, so, some mental health issues maybe, but not drunk, not drugs, not anything like that, just, real passionate. And this deputy then just drove on. He didn't even see this woman that was standing right next to JLR, that it was the woman that had been called in. Now, good, because I'm glad, because, she hadn't done anything wrong. She was just there giving her opinion like everybody else. So I'm glad that he didn't realise it was her. But I just thought, oh my God, if you can't find someone who's standing right next to you when you're asking someone about that person, have you seen a woman with glasses who's supposed to be drunk? We've had a call about them. Have you seen it? Do you know anything? Have you seen anyone? And she's literally stood there looking at you. And she even said afterwards, I was stood right next to him. I mean, it was insane. It was just, I thought, oh God, this is the police department that we're dealing with in this case. You know, is this the police department? So Keystone Cops, Pink Panther, Inspector Clouseau, Naked Gun. These are the words I'd use to describe this investigation, which is a real shame for Nancy. So we have to hope that the actual FBI maybe are doing something a bit more, you know, a better job of everything. And yeah, we have to think maybe today will be the day. Maybe every day, because we're on day, well, God, 30 something, 35, is it? Day 35 of this case. And yeah, those 2 early detainments were weeks ago now. Nobody's been detained since then. And of course, the other thing that we'll wait and see if it happens, you know, what happens with Ian Huntley as well. Yeah, a lot of people, it's true, Mark, that Luke Daly, there is a lot of resemblance between. Anyway, the thing is, there's so many possibilities still in this case. I don't feel, do you really feel? I don't feel like we're any further on in this case in these 30 odd days. In fact, if anything, things are even more confusing, aren't they? A lot of it's thanks to this guy. He's like, can't understand a word he says, can't believe a word he says. But half the time, I don't know what he's saying anyway, because it's so confusing, contradicts himself so much. Sheriff Nanos. Anyway, so this is the important person. Where is Nancy? Where is she? Is she still alive? If she's been taken for ransom, did it all go horribly wrong? And now they don't know what to do. You know, because she's no longer with us and they don't know what to do. I don't know. Nobody's come forward. Well, say nobody's come forward. I mean, the thing is, we don't know that nobody's come forward. The FBI are going through all the leads. They had a lot of leads after the $1 million was offered. And yeah, it could be the very next lead that they chase up that leads to the retrieval of Nancy one way or another. It could literally be that. If you've got 20,000 leads, it could be the 12th or the 1,200th lead, or even the 1,999th lead that actually turns out to be the lead that's successful. You know, they just have to keep chasing them down. But anyway, let me know what you think of this Wi-Fi jammer business. Do you think that's important at all? You know, it did occur to me that maybe the person who said they didn't have any internet between those, you know, they had a problem with their internet between, you know, to their, maybe they're the ones who did it. You know, that's a possibility as well. That's what it's, oh, you know, my camera wasn't working between those times. Don't know what was wrong with it, but maybe it was working, but they just didn't want to say it was. I don't, you know, there's so many different possibilities in this case. That's what's keeping us all awake at night, wondering what's happened to this woman, poor Nancy. So we may get answers today, and if we do, I'll be back to tell you about them. Please remember to like, subscribe. I'll see you really soon in the next video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about Nancy, and may your God go with you. Bye.